On today's show, Bill and Lenny pull out the deep diving lures and chase golden perch in one of Victoria's prime fisheries, before Kane Dysart joins the team trolling for Barra at Dundee Beach. Lake Eildon is a premier native species fishery, and a close reach of Melbourne offers plenty for the city angler. Our crew hit the water today in search of Eildon gold.
In the last 2 seasons, the golden perch fishery in Eildon has really come of age. It has given every Victorian angler a taste of what those in southeast Queensland and New South Wales have been taking for granted for years.
Well done, Lenny.
Thanks, pal.
Better still, Eildon is only an hour's drive from the eastern suburbs of Melbourne. This makes it one of Melbourne's best fisheries that can be enjoyed for a single day's fishing. We're just at the start of the Delatite Arm. It's one of my favourite banks to leave the boat a bit of a cast from shore. I have been using a deception, but because these banks have got so flooded, lake levels come up almost 15% in a month. I've just changed over to a gold jackal. Keep it up off the bottom and away from this, not so much aquatic weed, it's more flooded grasses and bushes, which, hey, is good. I would expect there'd be some goldens moving around these shores. You can retrieve the jackal just a little bit quicker if you want to. A lot of people are just trolling jackals at the moment, catching a lot of fish, just trolling probably 50 metres, following the bank. So I sort of figure just going to try the same thing here, and if that's no good, we'll move on. We'll move right up the Delatite proper. Because the water's come up so quickly, in just a month, we'll be able to reach a lot of new ground that probably hasn't been fished now for about 5 years. Water's probably flooded at least a further 2 or 3 kilometres of ground up in the top of the Delatite here, so we'll just see what we can do up there as well. Open up a lot more possibilities.
Fish.
Got a yellow there, Len?
Yeah, just a little yellow, yeah.
Oh, good.
I'm on the,
See, it did produce. You got a, oh, you changed over to jackal too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
grab this one for you.
Thanks, mate. That was, again, right on the edge here, Bill.
Just out, it was the same before, just out of reach of that 5 metre line. Yeah, it's not a big fish. Let's pull him in here. It's only just barely hooked too. There's a typical golden from Eildon. There's a nice little fish.
You're happy with him.
Good on you.
Yeah.
He's taking that jackal. Now you were saying you like this is a redfin colour.
Yeah, imitation of redfin, yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of redfin that size in this lake.
They're very pale fish in here too, mainly due to the water colour.
Yep.
But they're slow growing. They'll live to 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, right.
So I believe.
Yep.
I'm no expert, but that's what I'm told. And, you know, at probably about 10 years, they're going to be right up there in the size scale of things. So.
Yeah, this fishery can only get better.
Yeah. One thing is handy to be aware of with golden perch when you're handling them, because we're going to let this fellow go in a minute. You can comfort lift them, but
just be aware of them and those spikes.
Yep.
And then
on their dorsal, they're quite spiky here, and they've on their
gill raker.
On their gill raker, they've got quite a cutting edge in there as well. And down on the anal fin, they'll certainly cut you up. But we'll get the lure out of this fish and get him back in the water. Good. In November, the lake is usually at its peak, and the golden perch fishing, especially on lures, is always at its best then. Yep.
You on, Billy?
Yep.
Excellent. Let's get my lure out of the way.
Not a bad fish.
I'll just wind my line in.
Sure. Now going down to that 8 pound lighter leader has certainly helped.
Well,
yeah, it's about
instant results.
Yeah. Now this is only a small fish, but there's a big school of them along this bank. And as you can see, the wash in the background, it's washing up on the bank. Normally I'd fish this bank from shore, but what we've elected to do today is just drift down the boat with the electric and just cast parallel to the shore. It's another one of these little school fish that are obviously hung up on this bank. Just comfort lift him out. They're all going to be about the same size. They're all on this windward shore here. It's quite blowing up quite heavily now. But one thing you will find in Eildon and any lake that's full of golden perch is if you find a school, they're roughly going to be all the same size.
Same size, yeah.
A lot of these fish are all about this size. It's probably, I don't know, half a kilo or 3/4 of a kilo, not a big fish. Okay, we'll let this guy go. You can see how milky the water is here. It's really been stirred up by this wave action, so there we go. Now these boats that have been trolling up and down the shore here have been catching a few goldens. I just thought I'd try something a bit different. So I just pulled the boat up on the shore. I've just wandered down to where I reckon they've been having most of the hits. I'm just going to fish a suspending diving minnow, in this case a deception. Just cast it out, crank it down to about 3 to 4 metres and then slow it right down. See if we can't entice a fish or two that way, just for something a little bit different. As you can see, rod tip to the water and slow that retrieve right down. They'll probably hit it as it gets very close to the shore too. They just hate it getting away. And unlike most fishing situations where you quite often will get your strike in the first 10% of the retrieve, when you're fishing like this for golden perch from the bank, I reckon you get them in the last 15%, sometimes last 10% of your retrieve, right against the bank. Now this guy took it in that last 10%, just as coming up the bank. Not a big fish. It's actually held onto that one. We've lost a couple before then, they just couldn't stick onto him. But he's about, I would say, peas in a pod. The other couple of fish that got off before were about that size as well. They're obviously just schooled up on something out here. I'd say there's a drowned snag out here. And there's a nice school of them. Boy, these fish are fit. Now, I wouldn't say this is a monster, but it's certainly well over a kilo. It's good. Nice looking gold. Boy, oh boy. Best fight to date. He's only just lip hooked too. Just lip hooked. That's the problem when you're getting them on the bank. They just slash into the side. There's a nice specimen. Get him up here. Oh, just comfort lift him up. He's quite a nice specimen. Probably 1.5 kilos, this guy. Have a look at that. What a lovely golden from the bank. And fit as anything. Took me all over the place. A bit on my tackle for golden perch fishing in Lake Eildon. Gel spun or superline is paramount, and I only use 6 pound for my threadline fishing. So when I'm fishing something like a jackal or a bib lure, whether it be trolling or casting, again 6 pound gel spun, and usually 6 or 8 pound fluorocarbon leader, in this case 8 pound, and that's light, but the fish are really getting used to a lot of angling, and heavier leaders, I think 10 kilo leader is just getting a little bit heavy for a lot of golden perch fishing in Eildon. So if you can, run a good quality 8-pound mono, maybe 10-pound leader. One thing that a lot of anglers have a lot of trouble with is actually joining your leader to your gel spun. And I'm just going to show you a new knot that a mate of mine, Kane Dysart from Darwin, showed me. It's a great knot. It's relatively easy to tie, and most importantly, it doesn't degrade with casts. So in other words, as you cast all day, the shape of the knot doesn't really get knocked too much on the runners, so it holds its breaking strain throughout the cast during the day. You can also wind the knot onto your reel. It's not bulky, and it works with bait casters as well. Something like an Albright will degrade with casting and eventually let go. I really don't recommend that you use an Albright knot to join your leader, whether it be mono or fluorocarbon, to your main line. I'll just show you quickly how to tie this knot that Kane showed me. It's a real beauty. Okay, I've got a bit of 8-pound leader here. What you do is you just take your leader, form a loop, and just tie a double granny knot. So you simply tie a double granny knot and then pull on it, and you'll see it'll loop over and form a rudimentary figure of 8. What you're going to do now is take your gel spun, and in this case it's some 6-pound gel spun, so it's pretty fine, and you've got to thread the gel spun through the first part of the 8 and then back down through the second part, like so. So you've got your gel spun coming along through the first loop in the 8, back through the second loop in the 8. Okay? And then you just pull a bit of gel spun through like so. Now at this point in time, you don't want to pull the figure of 8 too tight, but you can just give it a light pull to hold the gel spun. And then what you're going to do is simply form a loop in the gel spun along the leader, like so, and then wrap the gel spun tag along the leader and the section of the gel spun that has formed your loop. And you go up about 10 or 12 times up and away from the 8 loop, like so. And now what we're going to do is simply pull up that loop knot that we've formed with the gel spun by holding the tag end of the gel spun and the main line of the gel spun, and you can see this gel spun knot forming perfectly up the line. So now you've got the knot in your gel spun here and your figure of 8 down here, and you just pull the 2 up just lightly till they meet, like so. From there you just pull up on your 8 loop on your leader, tag of your leader and your mono, and then you take the leader in your left hand and the gel spun in your right hand, and then pull up on the knot. And there you have it. That is a good knot. The lay of the knot allows it to run through the runners on the cast without knocking it around at all, so it'll last hundreds of casts during the day. And I can guarantee you, unlike an Albright, which will let go through casting, repetitive casting through the runners, this won't. And it's a strong knot, highly recommended. Then we can just trim it. And there you have it. That is a good knot. So there you have it. That's my light outfit, 6-pound braid, 7-foot soft plastic rod. I can use that from anything from small bibless minnows to soft plastics. I can even use it sometimes with a diving minnow, like a deception shrimp. I'll have a slightly heavier outfit, in this case using it with a jackal, but again 6-pound braid, 8-pound leader, and again the Kane Dysart knot to tie that one off. When I go to a spinnerbait, I use a Obviously I use an overhead, up a little bit, 10-pound braid. In this case, a spinnerbait here. And again, in this case, 12-pound leader and a cane dysart knot again. With my big rod, I always have a bigger outfit for cod. You never know when you're gonna catch a cod. In this case here, I've got a Mohawk from Mud-Eye Lures. Great lure. You can cast it, troll it. It'll catch cod just about anywhere in the country. Difference here though, I use, in this case it's a 40-pound leader, and I use a wind-on leader. So I tie a double in my gel spun, a cat's paw splice or a bionic braid loop to the wind-on leader. So it's a Kevlar loop to the braid loop, and then attached to your, in this case, 15 kilo hard mono leader, ideal for cod. And that is a serious joint. That is really good. That's guaranteed 100% run off your reel smoothly during the cast, and it will never let you down. Great system. So there you have it, a snapshot on the golden perch fishery in Lake Eildon, one of Victoria's best freshwater fisheries. And just remember, if you want to catch a golden perch on a lure, remember the month of November.
Darwin is an awesome location on the radar of many avid fishers. The AFN Fishing Show heads north with Bill Klassen to Dundee Beach. At 140 kilometres southwest of Darwin, the area offers spectacular fishing for reef and pelagic species. However, it's the lure of its plentiful barra that the crew really want to experience. Bill and cane Dysart have shared many territory adventures together. They teamed up again, this time with a bunch of great trolling lures, and the quest for Finnis River Barra began.
Well, we look for areas, you know, on a deep bend's obviously a good spot to start, somewhere where there's a rock bar. At the stretch we're trolling now, there's plenty of snags deep in the water. We're picking them up on the sounder. There's also a nice undulating bottom, and the Barra like to sit in the pressure waves behind those. Just come out, and they're ambush feeders, so they come out and eat fish and hopefully our lures as they pass by. Well, the fish are generally sitting deep on the snags or the rock bars. We're just trolling a snaggy stretch here. The tide's pushing in, but the river, the floodwater's actually still pushing out, so we're going up against the floodwater. This just allows us to bounce our lures over the snags. If you do happen to hit a snag, like we have been, you can just drop it into neutral, chuck it in free spool, let your lure float back up. Just work that area, because that's probably where the fish are going to be sitting as well.
We're trolling in 4.5, 5 metres of water, so what lure do you use there? Obviously a diver.
Yeah, something that gets right down there. And Bill's on now.
Not big.
Like you were using a poltergeist then, Billy, and it got...
Yeah, 5 metre poltergeist, and it was just bumping the bottom.
And that's really the secret to fishing these areas. You've got to get your lures in the strike zone. They've got to be hitting the timber or the rock bar. The poltergeist did the trick. Right depth, for the right depth of water. Bashing into the snags. And these lures are really good because they float up well. You could almost drag them through anything. We're picking a few fish up on the sounder here. Same run where you just got your last fish.
Yeah.
So the best thing to do in that situation is turn around and give it a few more quick goes. These fish do tend to sit in schools.
So troll up. When you've finished your trolling run, lures in, power back down, troll back up again.
Yeah. I mean, when the tide starts to slow down, you can actually troll both ways quite easily, but at this stage, it's probably a little bit much run. You can only safely go one way.
The Halco Poltergeist is a bite-sized lure that does a great job of imitating smaller bait fish. Although small, it's still very durable to handle the rigours of the territory and its barra.
So this one's undersized. I'm going to let him go. And a good thing to do with these fish, because there's a lot of predators in the river and they're a little bit worn out after the fight, just whack them back in alongside the bank or in near the snags so they've got a bit of time to recuperate. So he'll go there and nestle in the snags and get his breath back and hopefully grow to eat a lure another day.
If you're planning a trip to the territory to troll up a barra, then bring along a well-balanced bait cast outfit. A 10 kilo weight rod, reel loaded with 50 pound braid and 60 to 80 pound leader, and you're very well in the running to chase those barra. Varying lure colour and retrieves is a good strategy when on the water. Kane has gone for a darker lure colour here and he's quickly into a better fish.
Nice. We've seen the fish down deep, Bill, and we stuck on a purple poltergeist this time. And it did the trick. Got him on the green poltergeist again. Now these lures are dynamite for trolling through the snags. They really ride with a nose down action. So when they do hit a snag, they bounce up and float back up over it and continue to swim through. So they're really easy to work through snags, even for a novice angler.
The boys make the decision to leave behind a bunch of competitive but smaller fish to explore further upriver. The decision is well worth the effort, as after taking us through a little sounding technique, Kane finds himself hooked up to the fish of the day.
Seeing a pot of fish on the side scan there, that's about 5 metres out from the side of the boat. So what you do is you just deviate your troll run enough to run your lures over the top of those fish and hopefully entice a bite. Got him out. Well, we were very lucky then to get that one out of the snag. As you probably saw, he was right in the bushes. Bit of good boat work by my mate here, Bill.
We're working right over those snags too.
Yeah,
about a 5 to 3 metres. And you changed it over to a scorpion.
I did.
Yeah.
We saw a few bigger mullets swimming around, so I thought I'd try and match the bait. It's a good idea to get out in the middle of the river once you've got him well and truly hooked. Ooh. Nice fish.
Yeah, well, it's got a bit of weight on him too.
Give you a lift at that one, mate. Beauty.
Nice fish.
Now that was
Not a metre, but it's well up there.
It's a solid fish. They're well conditioned this year. We've had a good wet season. Off she goes. She'll just lay there in the snags now and get its breath back and hopefully eat a lure another day.
The most productive time of the year to chase barra in the Finniss is from March through to August. However, if you want to get on the water and chase those 1 metre beauties, make sure you're out there March, April, and on some years even through to May.